Hi, my name is Joe Flynn, and today I'll be discussing culturally sustaining practices and how we can use them to help individuals with disabilities overcome the obstacles they face both in education and in life. To get started, one thing that's prevalent in all the world is bias. There's explicit bias and implicit bias. As educators, it is important that we confront our own bias in order to have the greatest effect on all of our students. We have biases, both explicit and implicit, and we need to be honest with ourselves and recognize the biases we may have. Ableism is a bias that almost everyone in the world has, in which they treat people with disabilities different just because they have a disability. Society is also often built to serve typically developing people, thus, those with disabilities are at quite a disadvantage. Privilege. Privilege is when one group has an advantage over other groups. This can be because of race, ethnicity, culture, or where they are economically, and it also often has to do with able-bodied and disabled people. Certain groups have access to resources that others do not. It is important as educators we take the perspective of those that don't have the same privileges that we might. Culturally sustaining practices are ones that seek to center and sustain the diverse linguistic, literate, and cultural practices of students. It is important that we are able to empower families to participate in their needed roles in their child's education. One example of a tremendous culturally sustaining practice is implementing strategies that are flexible and family-centered. As you see in this graphic here, family engagement is at the core of a child's growth and development. It is important as educators that we get to know families, we build positive relationships with them, and we meaningfully involve them in the child's education. Why would we implement strategies that are flexible and family-centered? Well, not all families and cultures are the same. We need to develop strategies that have the culture of the family in mind so that the family is able to implement them effectively outside of the school. The relationships must be built with these families between the professionals, schools, to help educators learn of the family's culture, their race, their daily routine. And these strategies then can be used in school and continued at home. How can we implement these strategies that are flexible and family-centered? Well, we need to create an authentic dialogue between families and ourselves as educators. Dialogue has to be genuine and needs to develop an understanding of who comprises the family unit at home, who the child interacts with each day. We can ask questions such as, what does dinner look like? What do you do on weekends? All this information is helpful in coming up with the strategies to help the child succeed. We can implement these parent-family implemented strategies where the parents and family can learn to deliver interventions at home and in the community outside of school. With this, the child will find the greatest amount of success in any sort of endeavor. How does this learning make it more equitable for individuals? Well, when we involve the family, that will reduce our privileges in teaching. Teachers will no longer just make assumptions about families from certain cultures, because we will get to know them and build relationships with them. We will learn about their dynamics and ways in which they are oppressed, and this can guide our overall practice in the classroom. This will also reduce bias in teaching. It will cause teachers to know what the family is like, and we won't rely on stereotypes as much. It will force teachers to truly individualize the strategies for particular individuals according to their family makeup. The strategy is not going to look the same from one student to another. It has to match the culture and the family dynamic so that it is effective. It also reduces microaggressions because it helps the teacher respect all cultural values and intricacies that they otherwise might not know of. It'll help the teachers realize the ways in which their practices may be viewed as microaggressions by the family towards individuals from specific cultures, races, sex, or other identities that the teacher might not be familiar with. These practices should be utilized both in school, at home, with the families, and also in the community. So the more places this practice is implemented, the more natural settings, the more success we will see in the child being able to generalize these practices. It will empower the families to become from marginalized communities to become more part of their community, and have a greater success rate in life. It is a cultural responsive teaching method which will help us understand the history and culture of backgrounds, the community of the, and bring the community culture into the classroom, involve the family, and bring native languages into the classroom of the families. Thank you to all my references who helped me out, especially Ben Donahue, a personal communication, a teacher of people, individuals with disabilities, and Maureen Flynn, who is the mother of a individual with disabilities who gave great insight. Thank you and have a great day.